Here I have 3 bags of potatoes. These two are 2.5 pounds. And we have organic Santina, organic Red Maria, and a 5-pound bag of organic Kennebec. And these are all seed potatoes that I plan on planting today. First, I'm going to show you what I need to do outside, and then we'll come in and prepare the potatoes for planting. Okay, so here are the bins where I plant the potatoes. This is a really large bin, so I will probably use this one for the 5 pounds of Kennebec seed potato, or I may add another bin. These are smaller, and this worked out well last year for the 2.5 pounds. I just accidentally ordered 5 pounds of the Kennebec this year, but that's okay because I'll store them. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean out most of these leaves that blew in over the winter, and maybe not all of them. You know, maybe I'll leave some organic matter in there to decompose, and then I will put down a nice little layer of compost, put the potatoes in, and I'll cover them up, and I'll be back to show you that. So I've now cleaned out the barrels of most of the leaves. I left some, you know, they'll continue to decompose. I just want the potatoes to make good contact with this potting soil slash compost that I left in there last year when I dumped the potatoes out. You can see in these I did the same thing. I'm leaving some leaves to continue to decompose, but I do want the potatoes to make contact with the compost that was in there from last year. So I cleared most of them away. Now I'm going to go back in the house, and I'm going to prepare the potatoes for planting. So I'll check back with you as I'm doing that. So the next step is we take the seed potatoes out of the bag, and we put them out and we examine them, and we determine how many really good eyes are on each one and how they're situated. For example, this one, even though it's small, has a lot of, sorry, I'm not aiming it right, really good eyes, and I can cut this up probably into 3 sections, but you want to leave enough potato connected to each eye, so you don't want to cut off too much of the potato. Each eye should have a decent amount attached to it. Now this one, even though it's very large, doesn't have a lot of very fully developed eyes. Now I left them on the windowsill in the bag in a sunny room, but not in direct sun. You don't want them in direct sun in order to pre-sprout them. And most definitely these eyes are larger than when I got them in the shipment. So they have done some pre-sprouting, but not as much as I had hoped. Anyhow, so here are some that I've already cut up. Now these are very small. This one's very small and only has one really decent eye developed. So I'm going to put this one completely in the ground hole. I'm not going to cut this one up because the other side of the potato really doesn't have any eyes, so there's no sense in cutting it. When I put it in the barrel, I will put it with the eye facing up, because that's what's going to develop into the plant, and I want that to have a head start going up. This is another one that's kind of small without any eyes really on the other side, so I'm going to leave this one whole. Same with this one, very small, and only this one not too small, but really nothing on the other side. So I'm going to have to put this one in this way. Now this one is a nice large one, and it had a nice eye on this side, a really decent developed eye on this side, and a halfway decent eye on this side. So I have, as you can see, cut this into 3 pieces, and I will plant this one like this so that the eye is sort of on the top. This one I will plant like this so that the eye is on the top, and this one I will plant like this. This one, another section, and as I go I will put them in the soil so that the eyes are all facing up. And that's what I'm going to do when I get them outside. But for now I'm going to continue cutting them up and preparing them, and putting them in my bucket and taking them outside to plant. Well, I'll meet up with you again. I'm now heading out to those barrels to plant my seed potatoes. If you're wondering why I chose today to do this, is because number one, it's a nice day, but it's supposed to cloud up later and rain, so I won't have to water them. Saves me some work. But also, the supplier, the instruction sheet said I should plant these when the yellow blossoms of the dandelion start to bloom, and I have started seeing them this week. So that's why I've chosen today. Now, if you're worried that, oh gee, I'd like to do this, but I didn't order any seed potatoes, no problem. If you have potatoes that you bought from the store and they're starting to develop eyes, you can use those. If they're not, you just put them on a tray in a sunny room with a towel over them or something, a sheer thing, so that they're not in the direct sunlight, but they are getting some light, and they'll sprout eyes in no time at all, and then you can cut them up the same way I did and plant them. Now, I just want to add this little bit of information. Let me just get my glove on. Should have done this before I turned on the camera. Okay. You'll notice that the smallest piece is like this. I wouldn't cut anything any smaller than that. And you'll see I have some very big pieces, but that's because there's just a few eyes and they're small. I'd rather do that. But this is about the smallest I've cut any of the pieces. So, and if you have a potato where the whole potato is not much bigger than that, such as this one, I wouldn't cut that up at all. So I'm now going to just take the potato pieces, my seed potatoes, and I'm going to place them in the barrel, as I said, with the eyes facing up, because that is where the plant is going to come from. And I'm just going to keep doing that. This one, because it's a whole potato, I might have to like jam it in there so that it stands up while I am, because the next step is going to be that I'm going to cover these with compost, just enough to completely cover them. I'm not going to fill the whole barrel yet. What I'm going to do is, as the plants emerge, after they emerge, and as they start to grow taller and taller, I'll keep adding compost so that the stems are making contact with the soil. The reason for this is that, just like tomatoes, which is a cousin of theirs, they have little hairs on the stem, and they'll form roots along the stem anywhere the stem makes contact with the soil. And more roots translates into more tubers, which is more potatoes. So that's what I want to do. I'm starting very low in this barrel, and as the plant gets taller and taller, I will add compost to this until we get to the very top and I can't add any more. Then I might still get a really tall plant, but obviously I can't add any more at that point. That means this entire bucket should be fairly full of potatoes by the end of the season, and that's actually what we're striving for, right? So I will check back with you in a minute after I've put all the potatoes in the barrel. So all my seed potato pieces have now been planted, and you can see it looks pretty crowded, but since there's going to be a lot of vertical space here, I'm hoping that that'll work out anyway. The potatoes will form along the roots that will form along the stem. So, and these pieces of seed potato, believe it or not, when I do harvest and I dump this barrel out at the end of the season, there will be no traces of these left. This interestingly brings to mind a scripture that unless the seed falls into the ground and dies, there is no life. And that's what happens here. And as with all seeds, when you dig up the plant, you don't see any trace of the original seed. So as I said, I did inadvertently order 5 pounds of seed potato for the Kennebec. I don't really know how that happened. So I'm trying my best with this one barrel. The others I did last year with 2.5 pounds and had no problem. So last year I had 2.5 pounds in this one. This year I have 5 pounds. We'll see what happens. So I have conveniently placed these barrels, as you can see, right by my compost pile, so that it's very easy for me to add compost as the season goes on. I have this pile, which is ready to use, with the exception of some leaves that have blown on top of it. This pile is my newest pile that I'm adding to, and this pile is almost ready. And by the time I finish with the first pile, that pile should be ready, and then I will make this my new pile. So now all I'm going to do, I don't know if I can show you this with the camera in my hand, but I'm just going to dig up some compost. And I'm going to spread it on the top of the potatoes just until they're completely covered. Then I will give this a little watering, because this is Long Island and the weather forecast is a little skitsy. And even though they said it's going to rain later today, it really doesn't look like rain. So I'm going to water it just to play it safe. And if it doesn't rain, I'll water it again tomorrow. But if it does rain, that always does a better job than I can possibly do. So that's it for now. When I will cover these now. I will give them a watering, and I will do the same with the other 2 varieties in the other 2 buckets. And when these start to sprout, I'll be back to show you what they look like. Bye now.